any taker. So, I hate to be the one to say this, but, he's been a bust for them.
You said you were concerned that he might be a bust. How scared are you now?
I'm petrified. I'm petrified.
One of my favorite things about the NBA is watching young players grow and tap into their full potential. There's just something beautiful about being able to watch a guy start out as this young prospect in high school, college, overseas, and eventually develop into NBA stars and superstars. But as you all know, this path isn't always that simple, and stardom just isn't guaranteed even for the most promising young players. The NBA has so many incredible young stars that start off great, seemingly from day one, and they're ready to carry a franchise, take the league by storm, and improve essentially every single year. So like Luka, Trey, Ja Morant all come to mind. But in reality, this growth, not only in the NBA, but in life in general, is not always going to be so linear. This is why I'm so hesitant to call young players busts. And for all NBA players, I believe that there are 4 factors that determine a player's success. And it's their situation, confidence, opportunity, and just time.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dex, and these are 5 players who I believe still have a ton to prove in this league. I don't think they even scratched the surface of their full potential. So hopefully by the end of this video, I can convince you as well. Let me know in the comment section any other players that you are kind of stubborn about and just won't see them fail, because I will will these players into success if I have to. With that being said, let's get into the video.
First guy on my list is Ben McLemore. Ben McLemore was one of my favorite prospects ever coming out of Kansas. I thought when he played there, I was like, this guy has the potential to be the #1 pick because he has a silky smooth jump shot. He's got athleticism that seemed NBA ready, and I liked his demeanor. I liked his approach to the game. He had a little bit of a slow start in Sacramento. He improved a little bit in his second year, and then he just started regressing a little bit, never taking that next leap. And then he started finding some injury problems. Sacramento eventually sent him over to Memphis. He went back to Sacramento, and then he had a nice role in Houston where under the D'Antoni system and James Harden, he could just catch the ball whenever he wanted and shoot. He ended up playing for the Lakers for a year, and this year he's 28 years old and he's on the Portland Trail Blazers. Obviously he's underperformed throughout his whole year, but there's always a spot in the NBA for a shooter like him who stays ready for the assignment, whether it's in Houston, Lakers, Portland. All the fans, I'm sure, will tell you that they actually enjoyed Ben McLemore while he was there. His teammates will say he's a great locker room guy, and all the advanced metrics indicate that he's at least an average defender, meaning you don't just have to play him in spot minutes. He could be a solid backup shooting guard to a pretty good team. Now, I was doing some digging around just to find out some other perspectives on what really went wrong in Ben McLemore's career. And look at this, just like I said earlier, all he was lacking was confidence and opportunity. I learned about a very tragic incident that happened in which his brother passed away during his second stint with the Kings that just seemed to completely derail him mentally. But nonetheless, you can see how much of a positive impact he has. His coach said, even if unexpected happens, McLemore will keep battling. I love him. This guy is a fighter, man, and I just have faith that he's going to get back on the right track. He just needs a guaranteed deal where he has some stability in his life and he can get back on the right track.
Now, unfortunately, the days of Ben McLemore's days of being a superstar are behind him. He could be a starting shooting guard on a bad team. He could be a backup shooting guard on a competing team. And Ben McLemore, I'm praying for you, man. I don't want to be wrong about you, man. I just feel like we're not done. His story is not done yet. The next player on this list is Killian Hayes. And I almost didn't put Killian Hayes on this list just because he's so young, and I didn't consider him a bust at all. But I have a lot of Pistons fans, friends, and they talking crazy about this dude. And I'm like, yo, he's a young player. Give him some time. And as much as it pained me to go back and watch some Pistons games, I did, and I'm convinced I'm not giving up on him. Here's why.
The first thing I notice about Killian Hayes and his potential is clearly his natural passing ability. He's a playmaker. He's got like the play shot build from 2K. He just ain't maxed any of his badges out yet. And he's a brown shirt 75 overall as well. But look at some of these passes he's making. To me, these don't seem predetermined. Here he draws in a double team and he's tall enough to see over the defense, feed it to Isaiah Stewart. They don't look predetermined. He's actually trying to read the defense, draw and kick, simple play, and make the right basketball play. An area of the game that Hayes has a long way to go is in the pick and roll. He kind of gets caught in this in-between area where he lobs it when he should have shot it, or he floats it up when he should have lobbed it to the roller. And when I see his attacking moves, his finishing moves, just his general arsenal around the basket, it looks limited. Now pay attention here because this is the main thing holding Killian Hayes back currently, and it's the fact that he has absolutely zero right hand whatsoever. Every single play you've seen in this video is exclusively with his left hand, and not to oversimplify it, but you're cutting your offensive potential in half by only being able to make plays with one hand. And not only does this make you predictable and easier to guard, but as a playmaker, it limits the angles of potential passes you can pull off. And obviously, like we just saw there, your ability to finish through and around the defense.
One thing about Killian Hayes, he's been a pretty inconsistent, unreliable three-point shooter up until now. But there's this one thing about his shot and his mechanics that makes me able to tell when his shot is actually about to go in or when it's not. Coming from a shooter like me, Killian, I got you, man. I hope you're watching this video. Here you go. This is free game right here.
Killian has the tendency to twist his body in the midair of a shot, at times turning a whole 90 degrees on a lot of his three-pointers. And what that says to me is he's not always balanced like he is in this shot right here, which is cash. And this doesn't always just happen on standstill shots. So here he's fading away into the corner, so you would think he would twist his body. He stays square and he knocks down the shot. I don't think that's a travel, ref. We're going to the next clip. Here he twists his body. What is that? And the reason why this is a problem is because it's not a repeatable motion. It's the thing about all good shooters is they shoot the same shot no matter what kind of shot it is.
Now, I know I just kind of did all that and might seem like I'm pretty low on him now, but I think a lot of these fixes are pretty simple adjustments, easy fixes that'll take his game to the next level. At the time of this video, he's played under 50 games in his whole career. I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing from him are actually a result of that Pistons offense. Dwayne Casey is doing some weird things in Detroit right now. He gives the ball to the mad dribbler. What's dude's name? Corey Joseph. You have Cade Cunningham and other young players. So currently they have the second worst offensive rating behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just lost the game by 73 points. Next player on my list is Marvin Bagley. I loved Marvin Bagley at Duke. I mean, he was a 6'11" athletic freak of nature. He just seemed like a perfect modern day big who would have a great transition into the NBA. He was drawing comparisons to Amari Stoudemire. I also noticed that he had a lot of John Collins in him as well. He's gonna always be in the shadow of Luka Doncic and Trae Young and even DeAndre Ayton. But the reason I'm so high on Bagley and I'm not giving up on him is because, one, the Kings are cursed. I'll show you some of these draft picks that the Kings have had, and the lack of development from their young draftees is shocking.
So here's Marvin Bagley. Gary Trent Jr. is a good one, but he didn't blow up until after he was out of Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox was obviously good, but Marquise Chris, Willie Cauley-Stein, Nick Stauskas, my boy Ben McLemore, Thomas Robinson, these are all lottery picks. These are all consistent back-to-back misses. And then Tyreke Evans, man, this is something going down in Sacramento right now.
I think a lot of Bagley's limitations are more technical, not motivational. And you can work with that.
Bagley has consistently averaged 14, 7, and 1 throughout the first 3 seasons of his career, and he's only 22 years old. Luke Walton, before he was fired, completely took him out of the rotation, and he's been on a young team for his whole career. The thing about young teams that people seem to forget is you still need veterans and leadership that he's just never had in his career, and I think it shows in his defensive and offensive IQ. So I would like to see him in a better situation, a team like the Heat, the Toronto Raptors. I think the Spurs would be a great fit for him. I know Thaddeus Young has been entertaining the idea of wanting out of there. So when I was going through Marvin Bagley tapes, I wanted to show an example of some of that low IQ. Like here, he predetermines the move, doesn't read the defense. He had a wide open drop step, but instead he waits for the defender to recover and takes a harder shot. Another low IQ play here, he loses track of his assignment to box out, and instead of going to the basket, he turns his head, floats away, and lets Damian Lillard get the rebound and fouls him too. On defense, he can have the tendency to over-rely on his vertical jump and his athleticism, so he'll like sky in for a putback rebound, but really sometimes you just need a solid box out and a good fundamentally sound rebound. And a similar problem when it comes to protecting the basket is he will do these flyby blocks where he kind of goes past a guy who's going up for a shot, goes up with one hand and tries to block it, ends up fouling them or just missing them altogether. And a big part of it is he's just late on these rotations. He recently had a game against the Lakers that I really liked where he was actually guarding LeBron James in triple overtime, and he held his own pretty well. The Lakers were doing some funny stuff on offense. It was very stagnant, but I like the willingness to take that assignment of guarding the best player in the league. But you all see the flashes here. He's got the work ethic, he's got the tools. That IQ just needs to come together, and he's got a long way. Next player on this list is Mo Bamba, and I was looking at the Orlando Magic, and I had to decide between 4 players because I believe in a lot of the players on that roster. I like Mo Bamba, obviously. I think Gary Harris might be teetering on the edge of bust potential, but he had that 1 year in Denver where he averaged almost 18 points a game. I think Jonathan Isaac has potential to be a future defensive player of the year. And then Markelle Fultz. I was a huge fan of Markelle Fultz, even with the shoulder injury. Mo Bamba has insane length. He recorded the tallest measurements ever at the NBA Combine at 7'10". He was already an amazing shot blocker, especially at Texas. He had great instincts. And he had a pretty good looking jump shot as well. He's pretty effective from the corner 3. When he does a pick and pop, he can shoot the top of the key 3-pointer. And he has a pretty nice looking jump hook as well that would be impossible to block if you can get that more consistently. Here he has an opportunity to get down low, but nonetheless he's able to use his length and extend over with that hook shot. Now on the Magic, he played backup to Nikola Vucevic for a while, and then eventually he was passed by guys like Khem Birch who just simply outworked him, and I think that got to him a little bit. He has a tendency to get bodied by some bigger centers, but I think he just needs to do some of his work early, and then he can rely on his length to extend and get some of those rebounds and finish the play. He doesn't always roll super hard to the basket as well, which I would like to see him do because he's such a huge lob threat target that if he just rolls hard to the basket, the threat of him going towards the basket is enough to open up space for the perimeter players. He doesn't always box out. Like I said, he can tend to rely on his length a lot of the time. And I want to see him dunk on someone more often. Like he had this dunk at Texas where he completely rose up over the whole team. His head was at like the rim, his hand was at the top of the backboard, and I just need that kind of angry mentality from him more often because we just don't see it enough. I think he has the potential to be a better version of Miles Turner, but even better than that, I think with time he can start to become an even more impactful defender. I think he could become more like Jarrett Allen with the jump shot. And now that the Magic are in a full rebuild, I think now he'll finally get that time and the minutes to really blossom into the player he's meant to be.
All right, y'all, for this next player, this is a very sensitive subject for me because the player is Ben Simmons. I'm not giving up on Ben Simmons. I am giving up on Ben Simmons in Philadelphia because he's got to go yesterday. I need everyone to know that this is not coming from a place of hurt or hate, maybe a little bit of hurt. But I've been watching Simmons for a while, and I've watched his body language. I've listened to how he responds to things in post-game interviews, and I'm starting to realize some things about him, or at least develop a theory. So throughout his whole career, he's been allowed and enabled to do basically whatever he wanted because it always got him to the top level. And even in the NBA, without a three-point shot, without a jump shot, without even a free throw, it was enough to get him 2 All-Star game selections and an all-defensive selection as well. So when I say I'm not saying this from a place of hate, it's because I still believe he can be a superstar in this league.
He just puts on this mask of a very confident and unfazed player, but really he's very sensitive to all the criticism that he receives about his game because he's been so validated by the way he plays throughout his whole life.
So now you take what happened in Game 7, you amplify that times 1,000,000. Now Philly news is showing trash cans flying down the street and they're talking about, oh, there goes Ben Simmons leaving Philadelphia. That's gonna have an impact. Me and Ben Simmons are about the same age, and I can't imagine if I had royally screwed up on national TV and now everybody hates me. But I think from a guy like Ben, he's just completely mentally checked out. Recently been claiming that he's not mentally ready to play, and I think there is some truth to that. I wouldn't be surprised if he was dealing with depression right now. I do know that depression can make you act not as a rational human being. Now we're starting to hear stories about how he's not even saying hello to the trainers, to the ball boys, the people who work at Wells Fargo Center. Like, they had nothing to do with that. And even when he was kicked out of practice, remember when he was kicked out of practice, he wasn't really kicked out. It's really just Doc Rivers suggesting, hey, I think you should leave. And he just walked out without protesting it at all. Everybody hates him. His teammates don't want him back. The fans sure don't want him back. And there's just no end in sight for this man. So you can understand why he's not in a good place right now. And one thing about Ben Simmons, no matter what team he's going to go to, he is going to ball out, because I know how he thinks. He's going to go to any lengths to prove that his failures and shortcomings were no fault of his own. He's going to get to another team, let's say the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's going to average 25, 8, and 8. And he's going to be like, see, y'all were holding me back. Any lengths to prove that it was Philly's fault and not his, even if it actually means him working on his jump shot or free throw, which is all he needs to be a franchise player in this league, is a free throw. If you're a 75% free throw shooter, now you have more confidence to attack the basket. He's already a great passer. He's already a good rebounder. He's already one of the best defenders, perimeter defenders in the entire league. So even without a three-point jump shot, all he needs is to work on that free throw, and that's a wrap. And on that note, that's all I have for y'all today, man. If you liked the video, please leave a like. Comment down below which players you think I might have left off. If you think I misread a certain player, please let me know. I definitely put a lot of time into making this video, but I loved it. I loved going back and watching old clips and really watching teams besides the Sixers, because they're just bad for my mental health, man. But focusing on some other teams and some other players that I was once really excited about, and really trying to get reinvested in those players again. So peace and blessings to you all. I'll see you on the next one.